fields of green, red roses too, I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, the bright blessed days, the dark sacred nights, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so bright up in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you.
But the first person to talk today is going to be Scott Paulsen, his son.
Hi, I'm Scott.
Hi, Scott.
No, I don't think so.
Step up forward, Scott, so people know you're not
Okay,
talking.
thank you. The daughters are watching me. I'm going to read from my little notes here. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Increase this a little bit. It's only good time. Hello, I am Scott Paulsen, Richard's son. Thank you for being here today to celebrate the life of my father. Thanks to his loving wife, Debbie, our Nana, who loved him unconditionally. To my wife Karen and her cousin Leanne for helping put on this celebration. To my daughters, Julia and Brooke, to whom he was very proud of. And lastly, to all of his wonderful, interesting, loving friends, of which there are many. My father's life was defined to a great extent by his values and his passions, and today we are honoring a good man, Richard Urban Paulsen, who was a loving husband, a father, a friend, a provider, a craftsman, with a love of music and all of the arts, and as I'm sure many of you will agree, was blessed with a quick wit, the mind as sharp as a tack. Dad was an only child who lived in and around Tacoma, and soon later Vashon Island, up until his retirement and end-of-life experience. He was born in Forward, North Dakota, to Norbert Estelle Paulsen in 1938, moved briefly to Chicago before crossing the country to Tacoma in 1950 and attended Stadium High School. A big, strong, athletic man, he preferred the arts. One story he told me was the Stadium High School football coach enticed him to come out with the team. He remembered that experience, seeing students and friends hitting themselves or each other so hard that they would lie on the ground for a time before they would get up. He left the field that day thinking that was crazy. He figured he'd hurt a lot of people if he continued. That was neither in his spirit nor his love of peace and humanity. Music was a passion from his young childhood and continued for his entire life. His tenure in the Army was in the band, which, by the way, his experience touring around the world taught him much about life and friendship, where your faith or race or nationality came second to the love of music. And later, at the University of Washington, he joined the marching band playing sousaphone and tuba, where he became its leader and manager. And this jacket belonged to him. Oh. He gave to my oldest daughter another husky, and this was the band jacket. He played all types of music, and weekend jam sessions at our house were a part of my younger life growing up. He was a skilled carpenter, craftsman, and spent his life building and creating houses and cabinets and boats and furniture and art with his hands. Skills and passion passed on to me, along with the fishing, his second favorite passion. I had spent years dreaming of one day puttering around a wood shop like him, and aprons smeared with wood glue, creating objects out of wood, jazz, or classic music playing in the background. He loved to bake and provided us with bread for decades. Nothing was more celebrated during the holidays than toasting his loaves in our Viking toaster. It just wasn't a holiday without his bread. I loved his sourdough from the starter he nursed for decades, and his Swedish dark rye with garlic and sun-dried tomatoes. Sometimes you'd find a whole piece of garlic in your slice of toast, and that was the best slice of the loaf. He was always willing to give to his community in what ways there was need, from volunteering in the fire department for over 25 years, including taking on the head of maintenance, to cooking for those in need. His heart was giving in every way. My father could be a serious and focused man, but he could never resist the opportunity to have a laugh with friends and loved ones, given half the chance. He saw a lot during his lifetime: a world ravaged by war, he himself an Army veteran, an uncertain world with the Cold War, the oil crisis, the social and cultural revolution of exploding around him with the onset of the 60s, and yet he still managed to raise a family. To me, Dad's finest quality was his patience, an inherent ability to listen, to absorb, to offer a point of view based on quiet, measured wisdom. It's difficult to imagine him not being around from time to time, and I'm not sure how I will cope given his even advice. His grandchildren, Julia and Brooke, will miss him, and it's strange to think that I can't just give him a call or pop around to have one of our good chats or join him with good friends for lunch. Dad lived a long and happy life and only succumbed to ill health right near the very end. He was an imposing figure of a man, a tall, handsome character, whose reassuring presence we all felt during many happy times. My father rarely made an enemy, and while he most surely came across a few people he just wouldn't accept, he solved the problem by simply loving them unconditionally. He always insisted that violence never solved the problem, and his words were always enough to change my heart. My father had a quiet dignity, respecting himself the way he respected others, and as he faced his final day, his body ravaged with cancer that ate at his insides. He occasionally lost his good humor, but he never had one moment of self-pity. And in days before he passed, when the hospital nurses asked him how he was doing, he gave the same answer every day: "I'm fine." As we gather here today to remember and commemorate his life, let's bid him farewell as we mourn the loss of a lively, dignified soul. A soul that brought joy and fulfillment to many, and whose legacy will live on through his children. Dad, your love, your patience, and your understanding and your wisdom, and your amazing sense of humor will live on inside of us forever. You have given us gifts that are more precious than anything in the world. Goodbye, Dad. You will always live in my heart.
I'm not actually scheduled to speak right now.
It's okay.
I just want to say, if anyone has any anecdotes or memories that they would like to share, we're going to have, a schedule of musicians coming up. So if you have something that you want to share, you could raise your hand or just stand up at your seat in between sets and share whatever memories you might have.
This is the Judd Creek Gospel Group Singers. We've changed our names many times, but Dick was part of it. And how am I doing? Okay. And he was our strong, also profundo. So we have some baritones. Two baritones might make a basso. You'll hear. Anyway, we're going to sing two of our favorite songs that Dick likes to sing with us: "Down in the River to Pray" and "Rise and Follow Me." Let's go down, down in the river to pray. Let's go down in the river to pray.
Let's go
Down in the river to pray. When I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old
When I went down to the river to pray, studying about that good old way that you shall walk. Starry light, good Lord, show me the way.
Oh, sister, let's go down. Let's go down. Come on down. Oh, sister, let's go down. Down in the river to pray. When I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, when you shall wear the starry crown, good Lord, show me the way. Oh, children, let's go down. Let's go down. Come on down. Oh, children, let's go down. Down in the river to pray. When I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, when you shall wear the starry crown, good Lord, show me the way. Oh, people, let's go down. Let's go down. Come on down. Oh, people, let's go down. Down in the river to pray. Oh, people, let's go down. Let's go down. Come on down. Oh, people, let's go down. Down in the river to pray. Down in the river to pray. Oh, sisters, down in the river to pray. Rise and follow me, I'll make you worthy. Rise and follow me, I'll make you fishers of men.
He said,
Rise and follow me, I'll make you worthy. Rise and follow me, I'll make you fishers of men. Peter, John, and James could never be the same after they heard him say, I'll make you fishers of men.
he said,
Rise and follow me, I'll make you worthy. Rise and follow me, I'll make you fishers of men.
he said,
Rise and follow me, I'll make you worthy. Rise and follow me, I'll make you fishers of men.
Cast your nets aside and join the battle tide. He will be your guide to make you fishers of men.
he said,
Rise and follow me, I'll make you worthy. Rise and follow me, I'll make you fishers of men.
he said,
Rise and follow me, I'll make you worthy. Rise and follow me, I'll make you fishers of men. Jesus bore the cross to gather in the lost. Oh, what a mighty cost to make us free from sin.
he said,
Rise and follow me,
me about his musical experiences, particularly The Gentleman of Note. Yeah, this way of saying note. And he also brought me, early on in our friendship, a cassette of Mindy's Spellbound, which was wonderful. Yep. And he made me come up for the evening and watch the CD of Fiddler on the Roof. I know. Since I played cycle at one point, I was impressed. And I said, are we putting a Fiddler on the Roof sometime today? But it's there in spirit.
So I want to speak to Karen. A few years ago, we received an email from Karen, and it said, we do third Thursday community dinner, and we are missing a couple this month. Would you guys like to fill in just for 1 month? So 4 years and 11 months later, I think that Dick must have baked about 150 loaves of bread for third Thursday community dinners, and it was his special joy to make that bread.
I know it's no shame to be poor, but it's no great honor either. Would it have been so terrible if I had a small fortune? I was a rich man. All day long I'd pity love if I were a wealthy man. Would have worked hard. If I were a really rich, idle, deedle, diddle, diddle man, I'd have built a big tall house with rooms by the dozen right in the middle of the town. Fine tin roof with real wooden floors below. And there'd be one long staircase just going up, and one even longer going down, and one more going nowhere, just for show. I'd have filled my yard with chickens and turkeys and geese and ducks for the town to see and hear, squawking just as noisily as they can. And with each they'll land like a trumpet on the ear, as if to say, here lives a wealthy man. If I was a rich man, all day long I'd bitty bum. If I were a wealthy man, I wouldn't have to work hard. All day long I'd bitty bum. Diddle, 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 man. I see my wife might go down looking like a rich man's wife with a proper double chin. Supervising meals to her heart's delight. See her swimming on airs and strutting like a peacock. Oh, what a happy mood she's in. Screaming at her servants day and night. The most important man in town will come to phone on me. They'll ask me to advise them, like Solomon the Wise. If you please, Reptilia, pardon me, Reptilia, posing questions that would cross a rabbi's eyes. It won't make one bit of difference if I answer right or wrong. If you're rich, they think you really know. If I were Party Lord, I pity, pity mom. If I were a wealthy man, I wouldn't have to work hard. Lord, who made the lion and the lamb, you decreed that I be what I am. Would it spoil some vast eternal plan? If I were a wealthy man.
Gilda, do you love me?
Do I what?
Do you love me?
Do I love you? When our daughter's getting married and there's trouble in the town, you're upset, you're worn out. Go inside, go lie down. Maybe it's indigestion.
Gilda, I'm asking you a question. Do you love me?
You're a fool.
I know, but do you love me?
Do I love you?
Well,
For 25 years I've washed your clothes, cooked your meals, cleaned your house, given you children, milked the cow. After 25 years, why talk about love right now?
Golda, the first time I met you was on our wedding day. I was scared,
I was shy,
I was nervous,
so was I.
but my father and my mother said we'd learn to love each other. And now I'm asking you, Golda, do you love me?
I'm your wife.
I know, but do you love me?
Do I love him? For 25 years I've lived with him, fought with him, starved with him. 25 years my bed is his. If that's not love, what is?
Then you love me.
I suppose I do.
And I suppose I love you too. It doesn't change a thing, but even so, after 25 years, it's nice to know.
Duet is especially important to me and to Dick because his granddaughters and my granddaughters, Julia and Brooke, are going to sing at their grandpa's. Amazing Grace, and I think that if the audience would like, we can join in on the last verse.
You always need to remember that first note. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was 'twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace hath brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. What we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun. We've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Ships are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the roses falling. It's you must go, and I must bide. But come ye back when summer's in the meadows, or when the valley's hushed are white with snow. It's I'll be there in sunshine or in shadow. Oh, Danny boy, I love you so. But when ye come and all the flowers are dying, if I am dead, as dead I well may be, you'll come and find the place where I am lying, and kneel and say an Ave there for me. And I shall hear through soft you tread above me, and all my grave will warmer, sweeter be. For you will bend and tell me that you love me, and I shall sleep in peace until you come to me.
amazing programs with us, and we couldn't have done it without her. So this one, we're going to feature Matt Eggleston and Evan again on the piano. And Matt's going to, he said he was going to try to do it like Dick, right? But this is the old time religion medley.
Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. It's a good enough for me. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me. Makes me love everybody. Makes me love everybody. Makes me love everybody. It's good enough for me. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Not my father, not my brother, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Not my sister, not my brother, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me. Gonna lay down my burdens down by the riverside. Down by the riverside. Down by the riverside. Gonna lay down my burdens down by the riverside. Down by the riverside. I ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Study war no more. I've got a home in glory land that outshines the sun. I've got a home in glory land that outshines the sun. I've got a home in glory land that outshines the sun. Look away beyond the blue. Do Lord, do remember me. Do Lord, do remember me. Do Lord, do remember me. Look away beyond the blue. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for Bible preaching, faith believing, all I sing in church believing, glory, hallelujah, living. Give me that old time religion.
Was in the fire department for 25 years, and Mike was,
A member also.
Mike would like to speak.
Was here. Yes, Lyndon, George Eustace, Gretchen Neffinger, Paula Larson, not sure about our Commissioner Nielsen is here, but Dick may have preceded him. Anyway, Dick was a member, especially late 60s, 70s. That was before we had airlift. We still had local dispatch. Paula was a dispatcher. A few of us had pagers. We still used the roof sirens to daytime calls. But Dick was just a great help, not only because of his size, like a guy like him behind you, wire or lifting the gurneys. He was quite the mechanic, and sometime in the middle 70s, Warren Fordyce, who was a commissioner, a volunteer, Warren worked at Boeing. He was able to get the Boeing ambulance. It was a big box unit. It had been a Gaze bread truck in Seattle prior to Boeing. Converted that into an ambulance. And it was great because it was roomy. It was roomier than the 67 Cadillac, the 56 Chevrolet, or the 58 Ford Panel. So the only problem with it, mechanically, it would kind of lurch. And going up James with a patient, and you're stopped at the light there. I hope it was automatic, but it could have been stick shift. So you can imagine that. The patient certainly could. Oftentimes, you'd have to use the emergency brake. It was one of those spring-loaded things. And it would get a lot of wear. And people would drive with it on or partially on. And Dick repaired that thing a number of times. Finally, he put an orange light, an amber light there. And then the problem was, well, when the light's on, the brake's on. No. When the light's on, it means the brake's off and you're okay. Dick replaced that light and a swear and holler. And I believe we used that rig for maybe 8 or 10 years. But he was a fine example of a volunteer giving his time, good with patience, and real loyal support to this community.
I've known Dick for 10 years and became very active with him and his wife, Debbie. They did a lot of woodwork in 2 houses of mine, and then we became friends. And over the past year and a half, while Dick was undergoing treatment, he and I made many trips all over the Seattle-Tacoma area together. So I've had a wonderful time. Some of my favorite memories, he'd come to my house in the afternoon, and we'd go in the backyard and sit under a tree, and he would reminisce about his time in the Army when he was playing, about being in the band at UW, and about how the football coach came to him and said, "Why are you on the band? I need you in my backfield." And he said, "No, thank you." So over the years, music has been his life. His highest compliment was, he was a good musician. Yeah. Or she could sing. That was his way of evaluating everyone. I can't play a note, so. But we grew together and spent many hours together that enriched me. I can't explain to anyone how that has made me a better person, to have known this man who so many admired and respected and moved. He sang his harp, he played his bass, and he gave to everyone with his music. It was his life and his love. And this island and this world needs a song. And when the day he died, I thought, today the music died. I have one more thing. I forgot to mention his last lifelong companions, Banjo and Bodie.
Yes.
And Bodie was on Dick's chest almost the whole last few months. And Banjo was at his side. So I didn't mention them, and they need to be part of his celebration.
I'm going to introduce Steve Splain. He is probably the person who knew Dick the very longest of anyone in this room, I think. Well, you may not be, but Dick was. But you knew Dick when you were crazy 20s.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So I want to tell another side, besides musical. He was, when I met him, he was working in cement and construction and stuff like that. And I was kind of teaching at the time, but when I'd gone to school, I worked in Alaska in a fishing boat and stuff like that, and all through the years in school. And then I was teaching, and I thought, yeah, I really like that fishing. And I got a book on how to build a cement boat. And yeah, he thought that was a pretty good idea too. He likes cement or fishing, and so I was living in a little cabin out by Des Moines on Highway 99, and I said, Dick, I got this idea. I'm going to build this cement boat, but I need to build a big shed to build it in. It was 40 feet long and about 12 feet wide and high, so the shed had to be at least that big. And so he got his little drawing out, and pretty soon we were putting up this big monstrosity that I rented the cabin. Let's see, it was $25 a month, and I got to build my boat there, and so that was a good deal. And anyhow, I spent about 4 years, and he would come out and help me learning how to weld and making this big wire mesh basket of this upside down boat. And then it came the time where you had to cement it, and that all had to be all done in one day. And so Dick, being kind of a master cement finisher, he was a good guy, and we hired 2 guys from Canada who knew how to do the old plastering walls. And so we had a cement mixing, one of these portable mixers, and he was in charge. You had to make that cement exactly right. So have this mesh basket that's an inch thick or so, and it had to be, it couldn't be too wet because you put it in and it'd fall out of the basket, so it had to be just right. So we had 100 sacks of cement and a big pile of sand in this big basket upside down on the ground, and about, I don't know, 10 or 15 friends that carried 5-gallon buckets. And Dick would, he mixed that all day long. We did it in about 8 hours, and they troweled the boat out, the decks and the hull and everything. And then later on we went out, we were taking the kids out to Westport, kids, and fishing in them. So, he was a good friend that way. Oh, the day I turned it over, yeah, that was another.
Upside down.
Yes, the idea was that cement, would lay on the form rather than falling out of the ground. So we built it upside down, and then I had to figure out how to turn it over. Yeah. And so we hired a crane. He came in, and there was supposed to be a retaining line on it. As he pulled on one side, it was supposed to, the retaining line held it from going back. But and then he got some pressure on it, and he said, just knock out these strong backs. And so we were standing there knocking the things out, and all of a sudden the boat came all at once. The guy forgot the retaining line. Dick ran one way, I ran another way. And, luckily, the boat didn't hit any of us. So that was my
And I met him in the Vashon Island Youth Chorus when my daughter was in first grade, and she's now 23. And when I met Dick, I said, wow, the parents really are helping a lot here with the youth chorus. And he looked at me and said, trust me, this will never end. We'll always be helping with the youth chorus. And over the years, I have memories of Dick and I think during Snow White, holding branches and pretending to be trees. And we went through many things in our honorary youth chorus for 15 years. People might not know that when Marita put on the Charlie Brown Christmas, Dick built a little Snoopy, or a little advice sign, and it was out on the highway for a long time in front of Vashon Youth and Family Services. The psychiatrist booth. And yeah, he was her go-to carpenter for all youth chorus needs. And my daughter was kind of precocious at the time, and she was maybe in 5th grade playing Lucy, and very well cast by Marita. And one day after one particularly annoying interaction, I went up to Dick and said, gosh, Emmett is just so Lucy. She is perfectly cast as Lucy. And I have a very vivid memory of him looking at me saying, I know right now it feels like that, but you blink and it's gone. And it really stuck with me over the years, this kind of wise person there with the branches saying you blink and it's gone. And he just gave a tremendous amount to kids.
And so I knew Dick for probably 40 years. And at times I needed his help with his wood shop and his tools, and so I would bring some boards over to work on, and he would show me those fingers that he'd say, and say, you be careful. Anyway, he was a brass player, as maybe most of you didn't know, or some of you know by now, tuba player, and so we had some brass things to talk about from time to time, and he was fond of jazz as well. So we got a couple of tunes here, and let's see, good enough for Miles, so good enough for me. We're going to do Bye Bye Blackbird. So we'll start with that, and then I'll talk about the other. Okay, 1, 2.
Thank you.
Dick I knew was the Swede. And coming from a long line of old Swedes myself, I thought it would be appropriate to do a little bit of a Swede song. So this next piece in Swedish was called Ak Värmeland du sköna, which talks about the beautiful part of Sweden that's even more beautiful than the promised land, and life is so good there. And it was later recorded by, oh gosh, almost everybody under the title of Dear Old Stockholm. So we're going to do a little bit of Ak Värmeland du sköna.
You'll remember me when the west wind moves among the fields of barley. You'll forget the sun in its jealous sky as you walk in the fields of gold. So he took her love for to gaze a while among the fields of barley. In his arms she fell as her head fell down among the fields of gold. Will you stay with me? Will you be my love among the fields of barley? See the gentle sun in his jealous sky as we walk in fields of gold. I never made promises like these. There have been some that I've broken, but I swear in the days to we will walk in fields of gold. We will walk in fields as the sun goes down and you lie here. I never made promises lightly. There have been some that I've broken, but I swear in the days to come we will walk in fields of gold. We will walk in fields of gold. You'll remember me when the west wind moves among the fields of barley. You can tell the sun in its jealous sky when we walked in fields of gold. When we walked in fields of gold. When we walked in fields of gold.
Anyway, we were the Geezers, and one song that we did apropos is called A Little Old Log Cabin in the Lane. It starts off with I'm getting old and feeble, and we just got more and more, so we started off with Peter and me and Dick and Paul Billingsley, and Paul Billingsley is gone, and now Dick is gone. I think we're just about geezered out.
Yeah, why don't you come on? I asked Mindy to come out and sing with me. Mindy didn't really show off her North Carolina vocal cords here. It's a beautiful song, Mindy. Thank you so much. But Mindy was part of our mob of bluegrass players loosely called Wild Blackberry Jam. And we were at Packwood on that big lumber truck. There's a great picture of it in there. I think Dick still had all his fingers in it. Just barely. Yeah. I remember the night that happened in the wood shop. We went to the fire station and he said, well, I think I nicked myself. Tough guy. Then I just couldn't believe he bounced back and could play the bass. And speaking of geezers, a lot of those people on that logging truck.
Are you pointing at me?
Somebody who would remember the guys who were now in the Angel Band on that truck, and quite a few of them. And Bob Woodman wasn't on that truck, but we would sing together, and we sang this song, Four Walls. Remember when Bob sang Four Walls? And Dick loved that song because it was a really deep bass part in Four Walls. And because of Four Walls and closing in on me, but Dick would try to make the floor drop out with his bass voice. So he always had that. That would be fun.
You got enough?
Yeah, it's enough. Let me see if I can get this.
You want a mic?
Well, it's kind of an a cappella thing here. I want to show you.
You know, I think the banjo is in tune.
Banjo players and bagpipe players are always doing that. There's a joke that goes on that. Now I hope you will sing the chorus. Let's do it. I was standing by my window on the
first places I went with Dick was to Spirit Lake, Michigan, before the mountain blew. We took a borrowed canoe and we put it on the lake, and he said, okay, get in and paddle out, but don't turn around until I tell you to. And so we paddled out. I had never been there. We paddled out into the middle, and he said, okay, close your eyes. And so I felt the canoe turn, and he said, open your eyes. And there was that incredible cone of a beautiful mountain shining in a blue sky. And of course, a couple of years later, it blew. But that was one of the first trips that I took with Dick. And throughout our years together, there were times like that he showed me beauty. And I will always appreciate that beauty that he brought into my life. He had a very soft side that a lot of people didn't see. When we lost our Sydney cat at only 8 years, he cried like a baby. And, sorry, I'm not a very good extemporaneous speaker. So I will always cherish what he brought into my life. The music, especially. I'm not a musician, and he filled my life with music. He courted me with music. He sang to me. And I'm telling you, if any of you are looking for a relationship, there is nothing more irresistible than having somebody sing to you. Oh, yeah. So, anyway, it'll kind of come as a shock, but in the few days before Dick died, he told me that one of his only regrets was that he had not made enough music. And it seems like he made a lot of music, but he was in his deepest heart a musician. And I don't think any music could ever have been enough for him. And so I thought, okay, when we have the memorial for you, we should have some music. So I asked a few people that I knew who make music, since almost everyone in this room does. And the response was so generous and so overwhelming and so eager that it quickly morphed from being a memorial service with music to being a musical celebration of life. So I want to say that I really appreciate everyone being here today. It is the perfect way to honor Dick, and I also want to honor all of you who were such an important and constant presence in his life and participating in various ways, the firefighters and the community meals and the children's programs and the plays and the music. It's a lifetime full. And so I want to thank all of you for being here and all of you for participating in this and for giving so much of yourselves and for the support and compassion and care that we received all of our lives, and also in the last couple of years when he was so ill. He was not always easy to know. He did not share his feelings easily, but he did share them in music and theater, and that was where he expressed his deepest emotions. The character that he enjoyed playing the most, the character that he identified with, was Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof. Like Tevye, Dick really wanted a simple world where everybody could live in peace. And so, to bring this celebration of life to a close, I want to wish every single one of you long life and happiness. And Dick will wish that to all of us, and Fiddler on the Roof, L'chaim.
L'chaim, delight. Here's to the father I cried to be. Here's to my bride to be. Drink l'chaim to life, to life. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim to life. Life has a way of confusing us, blasting and bruising us. Drink l'chaim to life. God would want us to be joyful even when our hearts are panting on the floor. How much more can we be joyful when there's really something to be joyful for? To life, l'chaim, to Zeug